One night, on May 28, 2026, at Cape Canaveral, Florida, a 320-foot-tall rocket stood on its launch pad, ready for a static fire test. This wasn't an ordinary test. This was Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket, Jeff Bezos' biggest bet, gearing up for its fourth flight. The engines ignited, a roar rose up, and then just seconds later, the entire rocket turned into a massive fireball. A large section of the launch pad was destroyed. The lightning tower collapsed. The transporter erector was wrecked. Headlines spread worldwide. Had Bezos' space dream just gone up in another explosion? The answer isn't as simple as it sounds, because to understand it, we need to go back to the moment an Amazon founder decided that building an online shopping empire wasn't enough. He wanted space too. Jeff Bezos founded Blue Origin in 2000, interestingly, 2 years before Elon Musk founded SpaceX. But while SpaceX went public with its work immediately and moved forward fast and aggressively, Blue Origin took the opposite path. For years, the company remained almost secretive. Bezos had his own motto, Gradatim ferociter, Latin for step by step, ferociously. It meant the company would move forward not by taking risky decisions quickly, but by carefully perfecting one step at a time. This philosophy first showed itself to the world through New Shepard, Blue Origin's first major rocket, designed for suborbital tourism. This rocket carries people to the edge of space, known as the Kármán line, gives them a few minutes of weightlessness, and then lands back on Earth. New Shepard's first crewed flight happened in July 2021, with Jeff Bezos himself aboard, alongside his brother Mark Bezos. It was a symbolic moment, the world's second richest man riding his own rocket company's rocket into space. But New Shepard, as headline-grabbing as it was never Blue Origin's real target. It was just a suborbital tourism vehicle, small, simple, and limited in scale. The company's real ambitious goal was something else entirely: build a rocket that could carry humans and heavy payloads to orbit and directly challenge SpaceX's Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. That rocket was named New Glenn, after John Glenn, the first American astronaut to orbit Earth. And New Glenn was no small idea. The rocket stands 320 feet tall, making it one of the largest orbital rockets in the world. Its first stage, called GS-1, carries 7 powerful BE-4 engines, designed and built by Blue Origin itself, burning liquid oxygen and liquefied natural gas, a methane-based fuel variant. Interestingly, these same BE-4 engines are also used in United Launch Alliance's Vulcan rocket, meaning Blue Origin isn't just building its own rocket, it's supplying engines to the entire American launch industry. New Glenn's design also follows a core idea shared with SpaceX: reusability. After launch, the rocket's first stage attempts to land back on Earth on a drone ship so it can be reused. This is no small technical challenge. Bringing back a massive 320-foot rocket booster with pinpoint precision and balancing it onto a floating platform is something only SpaceX has achieved consistently anywhere in the world, until now. New Glenn's first flight happened in January 2025. It was a partial success. The payload safely reached orbit, but the booster landing attempt failed. Then came the second flight, in November 2025. Site Index 11 Tower 1. A week after this flight, Blue Origin revealed a new upgrade roadmap for New Glenn, including a new variant designed for super heavy lift capability, Site Index 11 Tower 1. This new version would carry 9 BE-4 engines instead of 7 in the first stage, and 4 instead of 2 in the upper stage, a configuration the company calls 994, compared to the current 792. New Glenn's third flight happened in April 2026, and it was the most promising flight yet. Seat Index 21. The mission successfully recovered its first stage, but a second stage anomaly prevented the payload from reaching its intended orbit. Even so, recovering the first stage was a major achievement in itself, proof that Blue Origin was gradually closing in on technology SpaceX had mastered years earlier. And then came the day that turned the entire story on its head, May 28, 2026. The company was preparing for its fourth flight, and during that preparation, a routine integrated static fire test turned into disaster. Site Index 71. The New Glenn rocket exploded during a static fire test at Cape Canaveral Launch Complex 36. The explosion destroyed the entire vehicle and severely damaged Launch Complex 36, Blue Origin's only operational New Glenn launch site. Fortunately, Site Index 07-1, no injuries were reported. As damage assessments began, a big question loomed. Could Blue Origin fly again this year at all? Site Index 9-1. Initial fears suggested the damage might be far too severe, but CEO Dave Limp confirmed on Tuesday that the damage wasn't as bad as first feared, and the company still planned to resume New Glenn launches by the end of the year. The investigation process was notably transparent. Site Index chained 1. Limp explained that the vehicle was highly instrumented, with extensive data from multiple camera angles and sensors, giving the team confidence in identifying the root cause. Early analysis pointed to the aft section of the first stage. A few weeks later, Site Index 4-1 investigators traced the anomaly to a specific component, the main oxygen valve, on one of the booster's 7B4 engines, though root cause analysis continued. The damage assessment gradually became clearer too. Site Index 10-1. The company reported that the lightning tower, transporter erector, and hydraulic cylinders were lost, but the tank farm, integration facility, vehicle access tower, and water tower had survived in good condition. Here's where things get genuinely interesting. Blue Origin didn't just decide to repair the pad, it decided to change its entire operational concept. IT Index 61. The company announced a new horizontal-vertical hybrid concept of operations, giving it an accelerated timeline to launch New Glenn again by year's end. Bezos' private space company would now use an entirely new launch concept, rather than rebuilding the launch pad exactly as it was before. This was a genuinely risky move, and opinions across the industry were mixed. Sit Index Ferociously and Giga1. SpaceX veterans told Ars Technica that they didn't expect New Glenn to fly from the destroyed launch pad again in 2026, largely because of the time and effort required to rebuild intricate launch infrastructure. But on the other side, NASA's confidence in Blue Origin held firm. Site Index 61. NASA Chief Jared Isaacman told reporters that Blue Origin had shown great progress since the explosion, and that New Glenn remained Plan A for launching the Mk1 mission this year. That Plan A detail matters because it means Blue Origin's future isn't just about its own ambitions. NASA itself is depending on this company for its moon missions. Site Index 4-1. New Glenn's role isn't limited to commercial launches. It's also responsible for the Blue Moon Mk1 lunar lander, which will attempt a landing near the Shackleton connecting ridge, with data from this mission feeding directly into the larger crewed Mk2 lander under NASA's Sustaining Lunar Development contract. On top of that, Site Index 5-1. New Glenn will also launch NASA's Viper mission and lunar terrain vehicles being developed by Lunar Outpost and Astrolab, while Blue Moon Mk2 will be used for future crewed Artemis program missions. By August 2026, the investigation was nearing its final stages. Site Index 2-1. Blue Origin was close to completing its investigation, with CEO Dave Limp providing an update pinning the anomaly to a specific component in one of the booster's engines, although root cause analysis was still ongoing. At the same time, a new phase of company operations was already underway. Site Index 21. On the night of May 28, 2026, when the explosion occurred, Blue Origin had been conducting a routine integrated static fire test of a fully stacked New Glenn vehicle at Launch Complex 36. And now the company, Site Index 2-1, continues post-recovery efforts at LC-36A, while also advancing plans for a sister pad, LC-36B. NASA's confidence grew alongside the timeline too. Site Index 5-1. NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman said Blue Origin was very committed to resuming launches by the end of calendar year 2026, and that its recovery progress had been almost beyond impressive. He added, Site Index 5-1. We've got time beyond that point into 2027 before we're getting nervous. On the lunar lander plan, Site Index 5-1, he said, Plan A was always New Glenn, and Plan A is looking a lot better today, just based on the progress the Blue Origin team is making. Now let's step back and look at the bigger picture. Blue Origin and SpaceX. Both companies are run by two of the world's richest men. Both want to take humans to space, but their approaches couldn't be more different. SpaceX's model is iterate fast, treat explosions as normal, and learn through speed. That approach is why SpaceX's Falcon 9 is today the world's most reliable, most frequently used orbital rocket, having successfully launched and landed over 300 times. Blue Origin's model has been the opposite. Slow, methodical, moving forward with fewer public failures. But that caution comes at a cost. Blue Origin trails SpaceX by years when it comes to orbital reusability and launch cadence. Where SpaceX completes over 100 launches a year, Blue Origin is only now attempting its fourth New Glenn launch. But that gap is gradually narrowing, and not just because of New Glenn. Blue Origin has diversified its operations too. Site Index 31. The company announced TerraWave, a satellite communications network designed to deliver symmetrical data speeds of up to 6 TPOs anywhere on Earth. This is separate from Amazon's own Kuiper satellite internet project, but it shows Blue Origin doesn't want to be limited to rockets. It wants to be part of the entire space infrastructure ecosystem. The new Shepard program also continues running steadily. Site Index Banj 3-1. On January 22, 2026, Blue Origin successfully completed the 38th flight of the new Shepard program, the first flight of 2026. The program isn't limited to tourism either. Site Index Unwind 3-1, an earlier flight made history when a wheelchair user flew above the Kármán line for the first time. But the pace of these flights has also been part of the company's broader shift. Site Index SAG 3-1. Blue Origin paused its new Shepard flights and shifted resources to further accelerate development of the company's human lunar capabilities. So the real question is, can Blue Origin genuinely challenge SpaceX? The answer isn't entirely black and white. On one hand, Blue Origin has resources few companies possess. Jeff Bezos funds the company from his personal wealth, giving him the flexibility to invest billions annually without traditional investor pressure. On the other hand, NASA and the entire American space industry genuinely need a second, reliable heavy-lift rocket company. If only so that if something ever goes wrong with SpaceX, the entire Artemis program and satellite launch industry aren't left at risk. That's exactly why NASA itself wants Blue Origin to succeed. But explosions, delays, and a launch pad reduced to rubble. That's a reality no amount of funding can fix instantly. In rocket science, no matter how much money you have, physics remains physics. Fuel valves can fail. Engines can resonate uncontrollably. And when things go wrong, the results are always spectacular and sometimes catastrophic. By the end of 2026, Blue Origin's target is to fly New Glenn again, using a brand new hybrid launch operations concept that's never been tried before. If it works, it will be a major momentum-building moment for the company. Proof that it can bounce back even after a massive setback. If it doesn't, the question will grow even deeper. Whether Bezos' step-by-step, ferociously approach can genuinely keep up in today's fast-moving space race. One thing is certain. The space race is no longer about one company. It has become a competition between the world's richest, most ambitious individuals, where every explosion, every successful landing, and every new announcement pushes humanity's future in space just a little further into focus. If you enjoy stories about the world's most ambitious space and engineering projects, subscribe and stay with us. Because in the desert, beneath the ocean, and now far above the sky, the next great engineering story is already being written.